Tune out now and stay tuned for the laughter and the stories that inspire you.
Well, hello, everybody, our lovely podcast listeners. Welcome back to the Cancer Sucks podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adrienne Finch, and with me, the beautiful, lovely, wearing all purple, Jay Williams. Hello.
Hello, Adrienne, and hello, everyone, and welcome back. We love the fact that you're tuning in, and we want to make sure you're sharing as well. We've got another great episode coming up today.
Yes, we do. And we've been really on a roll with these guests. It's so inspiring hearing people's different perspectives and stories. And once again, today, we have another lovely guest who is sharing her cancer journey with us. So, Jay, you want to let the audience know a little bit about who she is?
I absolutely do. So we have a fellow podcaster joining us today, actually, Susan Lambert, who is somebody that I worked with early on in my career, and we'll get into that a little bit. But Susan's an amazing human being. She is a breast cancer survivor, and she's going to tell us that story. But her podcast is so great. It's called 80s TV Ladies. She and her co-hosts really break down all of these great shows from the 80s that starred ladies. They talk to these ladies in many instances. They do interviews. It's just a really fun podcast. So it's fun to welcome her from her podcast over to ours today to talk about her cancer journey. So I'm excited. Shall we get started, Adrienne?
Yep, I'm excited too. Let's roll it.
All right. Well, I am excited today, Adrienne. We have another very special guest on the Cancer Sucks podcast show. This happens to be a guest who I've known for several decades. She is a cancer warrior, breast cancer survivor, and we're going to talk about that. But she's also a podcaster, which I love. So she has her own podcast called the 80s TV Ladies, which everyone you have to check out. I mean, it is a fantastic podcast. So Susan, I'm glad you were able to spend some time with us today between all the stuff that you've been working on. So please join me in welcoming Susan Lambert to the show. Hey, Susan.
Woo-hoo. Hello.
Thank you. And so thrilled to be here. I'm such a fan of this podcast and you, Adrienne, and Jay. Every time I talk about my best bosses, you're in that conversation.
Appreciate that, Susan.
That we got to know each other sort of outside the work situation too, and work outside Disney was also really special to me. So I'm just a huge fan of yours.
Susan and I, in another life, actually built big, ginormous websites for feature films. Can you believe that, Adrienne?
Wow.
So much fun.
Wow.
In fact, I think we built one of the last $1 million websites for our feature film. Yeah.
Wow.
Boy, we were kicking it back in the day.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Oh, that's epic, you guys. I wish it was still like that. Man, now we got all these really easy platforms, which, I mean, it's fine, but you guys must have put the best stuff out there back then.
We were groundbreaking, and that was a really exciting place to be at the time. Yeah. We built the first mobile ticketing site for studio-based. We did a lot of really fun, groundbreaking stuff that now feels ridiculous and silly. I'm always like, we streamed a live, premiere.
Susan and I had so much fun. We even took a trip to London together, and we did the quick London sightseeing tour from the back of a taxi because we had to get back to the States.
Yeah.
We still had a great
no time to play. No free time. I get it.
I think we got to work at Disney at a really cool time because that was for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It was also the first Pirates, the first Narnia. It was a good pool. There was Finding Nemo and Incredibles. And
so much fun.
Yeah. Man, what I would give to be a fly on the wall. I feel like it'll never be the same. Nothing ever is. But that's epic. You guys were legends, basically, is what you're saying.
We had fun. We had a lot of fun. So Susan, catch me up because I know it's been a while, and obviously I want to hear about your journey with podcasting, but also your cancer journey, which, no two cancer journeys are ever alike. You're, again, another shining proof of cancer sucks, but your life doesn't have to. You've continued to strive and do so many amazing things with your family kind of post-cancer as well. So we'll let you go ahead and just dive and get into it with us. us?
Well, I'll start with the podcasting. One of the things I learned that I loved to do when I was at Disney in the marketing side of things was break new ground. Like that, I came through USC Film School, and I was a writer and filmmaker, indie filmmaker, and then decided to go to the dark side and work for a studio. It was great. Lots of money in those projects. But I also learned so much. It was like getting a doctorate in marketing, and to be there and to be around you and all those amazing artists on the marketing side. It was really neat. And I really loved working on the edge of things. We're trying to figure out what you could do with a website, what you could do, through mobile, what was possible. And so I've always sort of kind of looked for that. Once I left, I was consulting in the same space, but then started producing, independent work because it's hard and it's new, and every project is a new, whole new ball game. And that's what I kind of love. So I, of course, had to try out web shows when that started happening. And so I produced a web show and a couple of smaller ones, and then COVID, basically, because we all started watching TV in COVID and streaming and listening to podcasts. And I was like, I have questions about 80s television and how women were portrayed in that. And I want to start a podcast. So those two came together, and it's been an incredible journey. We have done 100 episodes. We crossed 100 episodes this year, and we have 4 awards and several nominations. I'm really excited that, kind of for that journey and what it's brought me. And it's been such a gift to talk to all these amazing people that we get to talk to who've had such journeys of their own in front of and behind the scenes, and their groundbreaking stories. I feel like now we're an archive, very akin to the Television Academy archive. So I feel like we're doing,
yeah.
And then somewhere in there, I got cancer, as always happens.
And the by the way, that's
just
weird.
a little blip along the way. Okay.
And again, I'm sure, everyone who experiences this has that weird moment where you're like, wait, that seems weird. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's nothing. But you investigate, which is the smart thing to do. So mine began in the innocent days of 2024, a week before Christmas, when my husband actually on a Monday was like, hey, honey, I didn't want to say anything Friday night, because I didn't want you to worry all weekend, but I kind of felt something weird. I mean, this is very salacious, I guess, but that's really what happened. And I was like, oh, that's fine. Women get those, honey. Don't worry about it. Because I do. I have dense breasts. I have lumpy breasts. I do my annual mammogram, though, and often sometimes an ultrasound. And it's always been clear, but there was a little lump and it didn't go away. And so, but we were like, it's fine. We'll see what happens after, I have an appointment for my regular checkup. I always try to schedule it first of the year and my annual checkup. And so I was like, that'll be January 7th or whatever I had scheduled it for. Turns out in January 2025, we had that little thing called the LA fires.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
And so everything, and particularly I live in Pasadena. So Altadena, Pasadena was hurt, was very damaged and very affected. So I had to reschedule my appointment, and I was like, but I'm going to go in and get a mammogram because I'm not going to right around. And I'm grateful to my husband for supporting that or noticing. I mean, I kind of had already noticed, but I had sort of brushed it off. And so I went to my gynecologist because that's who I could get into. And the doctor wasn't there because everything was in chaos in Pasadena. But the physician's assistant signed off and said, I'm sure it's nothing. She said, yes, there does feel like there's something there, but 99% of the time, this is nothing. Here's your script to go get your mammogram. I went down to the parking lot. I called to schedule my mammogram. This was, again, January 15th. They were like, we can't get you in till March 30th. I was like, this isn't just a regular checkup, I'd really like to know. And they were like,
I hate that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, but it happens. And I sat in that parking lot. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I called my friend, Kathy, who had experienced breast cancer. And I said, they're telling me to wait till March 30th. And she's like, you shouldn't, just go. And so find another place. So I called my GP. He was on vacation, but the PA there saw me and gave me a referral to Providence Breast Center in Burbank, which it used to be my mammogram place because it was across the street from Disney. It was where all my medical stuff was because working for Disney was the first time I had health insurance in my life. And so I was sort of back home in my spot. And she said, if they can't get you in, today, I called them and told them to get you in, or tomorrow. Here are 5 other places to call that you can go. So she was great, because she was also like, don't wait. And so I got in the next day to Providence, and they were like, can you bring your other scans? And can you bring the actual scans, not the online? So then I'm on the journey of trying to find my old medical records. I literally had to drive to Duarte to pick up a CD to then bring to my appointment of my other scans that had been done in the previous 5 years. And then it's the journey of, okay, we'll get you in, we'll do the mammogram. Then a few days later, we'll bring you back. And because yes, maybe we should do a mammogram biopsy. And that's when you start to get a little bit, I think. That's when I was like, oh yeah, okay, this might be a whole new thing, that I don't have breast cancer in my family. And so I really was not one of the things I thought was coming for me. But yeah, so I kind of knew as soon as they did the biopsy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even in the room before they talked to me about it.
That is quite a story, Susan. And the fact that this was all happening against the backdrop of those fires and you were in that area. I mean, my goodness, what a lot to take on all at once. The proverbial drinking from the fire hose, right?
Well, and the world,
Truly.
and the outside world was also like not doing great as far as I'm concerned, but it was a lot. I also was at the beginning of a new kind of job for myself. I was co-artistic director. I still am, but I had just taken it on as co-artistic director of an organization called Arts a la carte. And we were producing that year 3 readings and a workshop of new work. And that was all started, and we were rescheduling one of the pieces because of the fires. It just was a lot going down that I prioritized that mammogram.
Well, now, once you found out that obviously there was something going on between the mammogram and the biopsy, kind of walk us through what happened next. What was sort of the course of action that they were recommending for you at that point?
The biopsy results came back, and that was its own crazy journey, because I had to basically make the nurse, because my doctor was still out of town. Nobody could tell me. They were like, your doctor will tell you.
You're like, can you just read me the results, please? Like, I
promise I won't freak out. I promise I won't freak out. I just need you to tell me so that I know what to do next. And she thankfully did. I don't know if she was supposed to or not, but she was reluctant to. But she did. And then I was like, okay, if you got this result, what would you do next? And thankfully she said, I would call a surgeon. You're going to call a surgeon, and then you're going to call an oncologist. And so she gave me the name of a surgeon at Providence, and gave me the name of an oncologist at Providence. And so then I called them right away, because again, I think what was nice, certainly at Providence, my experience was, as soon as you have that diagnosis, people are ready to get you in pretty quickly.
You don't have to wait. Yeah,
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and then meanwhile, I went back to my regular doctor, physician assistant, who again, I've seen for years. And he called my doctor on the beach in Hawaii and said, Susan has this diagnosis. Who do you want her to see? Because he was at Providence Medical Center, or was at that whole center a long time. So he knows a lot of people. And so he called a surgeon and an oncologist. So I ended up meeting with 2 different surgeons and 2 different oncologists. That was great. I ended up with a choice, because I just was like, whoever can get me in. And then they both call me back. And I was like, that's not a bad idea. And so I met with the first doctor I met with was great, and he was awesome. He scared me a little bit, because he said, well, you can also just do a double mastectomy. Like, you can take them both. And I was like, wait, wait, is that what we do?
Yeah.
Is that really what we're doing? But he was just like, some people just want that peace of mind. He wasn't pushing it. He was just giving me all the
Right.
options. And then I met with the Providence doctor, Dr. Handy, and she's amazing. And her name is Dr. Handy, which in my heart makes me really happy.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I have a silly sense of humor, and she was fantastic. And I loved her, and I liked both doctors. They were both well regarded and great. She just made me incredibly comfortable, and was also like, all of that was brought up, which was kind of not where I was thinking. I was suddenly like, well, should I wasn't thinking that, but why would I do that? And she took me through all of those things. It was not what I ended up needing to do for myself or wanting to do. And so I ended up having a lumpectomy on my right breast and had the surgery. Like, it was so weird. That week then becomes all these tests, which Jay, you're the expert at tests.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so that was a lot. That's when you start trying to schedule your life. I literally was directing a reading of my own play that week that I was literally like in the MRI going, can this finish so I can get to rehearsal? Like, I need to get there, which was great because I didn't have time to think about either one too much. It was good to have something else to just, okay, that happened. Now I'm on here. I don't have to sit worrying until I hear the next news. Thankfully, all the news after that was really, really good. I was really blessed, really lucky, and that I had a grade 1 cancer, hormone driven, very, very, very common in breast cancer and very slow moving. My oncologist is always I think he's both excited and a little bit disappointed that I have like the laziest cancer is what he
That's funny.
But he was great. My surgeon was great. And then literally ultimately I was very lucky because it was caught early and because it was a very common and very identifiable and very slow cancer. Didn't feel slow. I have to say it was I'm like, for a slow moving cancer that was not there a year ago at all, I could feel it. I'm like, that's a big cancer. But I was really grateful and very happy. So the protocol that I did did not include chemotherapy, which again, very blessed. I did surgery. And then since my lymph nodes were clear, I did radiation, but I did not have to do chemotherapy. And so I did 4 weeks of radiation, 20 sessions. That was an interest, again, learning about all this stuff for the first time. I really had not had to know about breast cancer. I was lucky to not have to know that because I had no one in my family that had it. But I have a lot of friends that have. So that was really great. And I immediately contacted them and said, hey, can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
We met up with a friend of ours that I knew had breast cancer. We were just having coffee with her. And this had just happened. I was like, so Barbara, can I kind of ask you something? And again, you don't know how to bring it up. Like, it's really hard to bring up in a normal conversation when people don't know. But I knew she'd had breast cancer like 5 years previous. And I was like, can I ask you about your experience? I just have this diagnosis. And she's like, here's what I did. This was my surgery. This was the thing. She was great. She was giving me all this information. And I said, and then what's the recovery? And she had ended up having the same thing where she had radiation, but not chemotherapy. And she's like, well, you want to see it? I was like, what? She said, let's go to the bathroom.
No
and so we went to the bathroom and she lifted up her shirt and basically showed me her breasts so I could see like, those look like breasts. Like it was really great. It really was amazing because it kind of broke that ground of like, we're ashamed to talk about our bodies and this. And she was just so great. I will be forever thankful for her because it just made it okay. Like it just was like, here's this thing that happened and this is And I was like, oh, okay. And so I'm like, if that comes up for anybody else, I feel like I have to pass it on at some point.
It's like, it reminds me of my friends who are just starting to have babies, and there's such few of them that it's like, oh, one will have a baby and then they're maybe 6 months forward, and then the next one will just ask that one everything. Like, yeah, my vagina feels like this. Oh yeah, I use this cream and that and that. And it's like, you gotta, like, you're the only person who's had the exact experience. Like, you can't not be like, yeah, this is what it'll look like. This is what it feels like. I mean, that's amazing. I'm so glad it's becoming more like that because unfortunately, I mean, nobody wants this to be so common, but it is, and especially breast cancer. And so what a treat. I mean, I wish you both didn't have to go through that, but what a treat that someone close to you had near identical experience so that you could talk to her. That's awesome.
And how great, Susan, that you didn't wait, that you did the right thing. You were very proactive with it, and I think that's the thing. Sometimes sometimes, these things happen. You're like, I'll get around to it. It's okay. And, by you being so proactive, really, it was not only, it was good, your diagnosis, but you didn't nearly have to go through as much as maybe you would have had you waited a little bit longer. So good on you for being proactive about this and really taking the bull by the horns and going, no, I need to get in and get this checked out.
I'm really thankful for that. And because there have been times in my life where I felt too busy and I felt too, overwhelmed, and I was super busy at that point, and we had the fires. There were so many reasons to put it off. And yet again, I think my husband was like kind of on it too, which is, I think, really great. Yeah. He was like,
That's
no,
awesome.
Let's call Dr. Marsh. Get him on the phone in Hawaii.
I think it's also easy sometimes to justify waiting when the actual doctor's office is scheduling you far in advance, or, when the actual doctor's office is making you wait, because you can kind of justify it like, oh, well, they clearly don't think it's that big of a deal. But again, we talk about this literally ad nauseum every single episode, how, what you did, the advocacy of, you know what, even though they're saying that, I don't feel right about that. I had a mole on my back that was growing really fast, and I kind of had a similar situation where I tried to schedule an appointment. I told them on the phone, I had photos even, so I could kind of measure the growth, and they were just not concerned, and my appointment was going to be in a month. And granted, there's a good chance it was still fine, but I looked online at everything, and it's like, well, the rate at which it's growing, like 1 month could be the difference between it's serious and it's not serious. And you always have to kind of like take that into your own hands, which is sort of counterintuitive, because you want to just trust, like, oh, well, they said it's not a big deal. But anyway, good on you, because I think everyone should just do that. It doesn't hurt. Peace of mind, or you're saving your life.
I think it's really, really, really important. It goes back to a time at Disney. I worked with a woman that had leukemia, and she was 26 or 25. And I worked with her. She was my sort of co-coordinator. She was like, I'm having trouble like breathing. Like I wake up and I'm coughing. And she went to the doctor several times, and they gave her antibiotics, and they did this and they did that. And they did not give her an x-ray, which is what she should have had. And by the time, I was with her when we went to the emergency room, and they gave her an x-ray, and then they came back and said, you have lymphoma. And it's stunning. It's like, you don't expect a young person to have that. She was super healthy in all other ways. And so it is important to advocate. If something doesn't feel right,
absolutely, you
have to go, and finding doctors that you trust. I know you've talked about this, and being, you do your own research, but which you also have to be careful about. But it's really important to take care of ourselves and so that we can be there. And then I think there's also an instinct once you have that diagnosis to maybe go hide a little bit or not, it can cause depression. It can cause all these things, and that can like make you not take action. And I think I was very lucky that there were people around me encouraging me to take action very quickly and be like, no, keep both doctor's appointments, make a choice. Like, that is really unusual, but it was really helpful in my case because I liked both of them. But finding someone that I truly enjoy now doing my follow-ups for the rest of my life, is pretty great.
That's huge. We talk about that too. Just, I'd say that it's kind of like dating sometimes. Like, doctors can have the same expertise. They can know exactly what they're doing, but you kind of want to vibe with the one that you're seeing. And it's okay to want to test out a few. Like, you should. It's your body, it's your health, it's your life. So I love that you kept those appointments. And I moved to LA, I did that for my PCP. I was like, I know it's just a PCP, but why not test a few of them out? See who I vibe with. And I love that. And you do get excited. You feel good about who you're seeing.
And it's so hard to do now, though. A lot of people don't have the kind of insurance that allows them to do that. We were very lucky. I'm on Richard's Writers Guild insurance, which is phenomenal. And so it's so scary. Like the biopsy cost for the biopsy was like, it was $39,000.
Yeah, that's actually a great point.
End up paying for that, but you're like, it's horrifying when you see that. And you're like, that was the biopsy. So I think there's that hit, as you know so well, is all the economic factors that come into play. And particularly if you don't have really good insurance, or if it means you're not going to be able to work, or I was, again, very lucky to be able to schedule. I was able to put off radiation for a month because it wasn't, my doctors were okay with that. They were happy to do that. I was like, don't let me do this if I shouldn't. They were like, you're okay to do that. It'll give you more healing time after surgery, because my kid was graduating high school and my mom was coming out, and, there was life happening, but
Absolutely.
the ability to be able to be present in your own life while you're going through that is also, I think, really difficult. And again, Jay, your approach to what you've been going through, is really inspirational. And it's also
Thanks,
just
Susan.
like, it is so you, like to find a joyful way through this and also like solve a problem. Okay, it's a problem I need to solve. It's a production. And so, yeah, it is giving me a lot of empathy. I think I was pretty empathetic before, but it is very humbling to be going through that experience, to be watching others, in radiation. You actually sit with other people while you're waiting, and then you can talk to them. And so I got to know my radiation buddies, and yeah.
It really does ground you when you're at these cancer centers and you see the other patients that are around you. And, the minute that we all start to feel a little sorry for ourselves, and that's okay. I mean, that's a very natural thing when you're going through something like this. But then you just look around and you go, oh my goodness, it could be so much worse. I'm really, I don't have too much to complain about, honestly. When I see some of these other people and what they're having to go through, it's so true. And, kind of to that point, Susan, like we like to say with the title of the show, cancer sucks, but your life doesn't have to. And I think you've given some really good examples on here. If you had to take that one lesson that you learned through this whole process to where you go, you know what? My life was kind of almost better because of this, that I didn't really think about it. I mean, the empathy thing is hard to beat, I know, but what would that be for you ultimately?
I think one of the things I learned, and that you learn a little bit of this when you do sort of have a child, like you were talking about your friends that are going through that. The ability to talk about stuff is really important. When I was a little bit nervous to tell my mom, because she's amazing and I love her and she's incredibly smart. She's a scientist. She was a microbiologist at CDC for 42 years and before she retired. And I knew as soon as I told her, she would have a reaction and she would be shocked, and then she would start researching and want to know all the details. And so when I told my mom, she was like, Susan, well, we don't have cancer in our family. And I was like, we do now, Mom. But she did. And she did all that. And so she really wanted to know, I think sharing with other people is important. I did not do a lot of that. Like my co-host of 80s TV Ladies also was one of the friends I reached out to because she had gone through her own breast cancer journey 10 years previous. And so we talked about whether we were going to talk about it in a show, and it came up naturally. And so we did. And so I think it's the ability to, it's hard not to feel stigma that even though we know that now, it's not the same as it was 30, 20, 50 years ago. And yet it's hard not to feel like I did something wrong, or I should have done something different, or, that it's hard to tell people, that is important because it's so common. We know so many people, we know so many younger people now. And so people need to get checked. And so that's, I think, probably the thing I took away is that it can happen to anybody for any reason. Like that was one of the radiologists, the radiology techs said that. She was like, there was somebody that was talking about how a stranger was talking to them. She was doing radiation and chemo. And someone had come up to her and was like, did you get the vaccine? And did that give you cancer? And she was so upset. And we were talking about her. And the radiologist was like, everybody gets cancer. Cancer is everywhere. It happens. Cells change their mind and do something. Cells can make mistakes. And so the idea that there's a blame or there's a one factor, we know that's not true. And that it is part of us being able to live long lives is that we now have more incidences of cancer. We also live in a very complex world, which I also think is increasing our rates of cancer.
Agreed.
But we have tools and amazing tools. Jay, can I ask you how you're doing with your new amazing tool?
I am doing great with my new best friend, Duraxaracip. the new medication, it has been truly life-changing for me, Susan. To go from having chemo every 2 weeks to, now suddenly I'm no chemo and I'm taking 2 pills a day and I'm feeling energy and feeling more like myself again and having very minimal side effects. It's really been quite amazing to just see this happen. I feel completely blessed. I know that we're all pushing on the FDA to really get this approved quickly because I think there are going to be so many pancreatic cancer patients, especially stage 4 patients, that are going to benefit from this. And I'm so thankful for that. But I'm doing a lot better, I'll tell you. Just getting off the chemo here for what's now been a little over a month has been huge for me, trying to get my body built back. So I am feeling great. Walking again, doing a lot of things that I hadn't been able to do since my diagnosis. So feeling very thankful for all of that. So thank you for asking that, Susan.
Well, I'm so encouraged by all the breakthroughs that are happening. That we really are in this sort of magical time.
We are.
And hopefully people will continue to fund and the research and the important groundbreaking science that needs to happen to continue to solve this. This is something that will affects everyone, either yourself or someone you know. And we all know someone. And then sometimes it happens to you and you're really not expecting it.
It knows no bounds.
And so it's those groundbreaking medicines can quite literally change people's lives, save them, but also make the quality of their life so great. And that doesn't suck. And I think one of the other things I would say, and you're a great example of this, is that you have to take care of yourself and do all that, do what they tell you to do, or do your eat well, exercise, but you also have to, keep doing the things that make you happy and keep striving in that way so that your life doesn't have to suck. Your life is actually really good. It was one of the best years of my life. My kid graduated high school. My mom came out and we went out to Arizona and saw friends that we hadn't seen in, 15 years. And, I did this incredible, amazing creative year of developing new work in a way that I've been striving to do. And this opportunity with this nonprofit gave me the ability to do it at a really high level. It was an incredibly successful year while all of this other stuff was going on. And so sometimes I had to take time off and recover. But then I had a lot to look forward to and lots of reasons to have an incredible year. There was the fire year. Like everything was bad.
Yeah.
And yet it ended up being this really great year. One of the best things that happened out of the fire is watching everyone in the community of Altadena and Pasadena come together in such a huge way, directly helping people and fundraising, but also just donating everything. And the kids at Dashiell's school got together and were calling every family to find out if they were okay, if they had a place to live. And so that was like this kind of amazing groundswell of people want to help each other. And we do want to live in community with each other. And we do want everyone to be okay. And so that was not the worst year of my life, having cancer. I mean, and I keep going on. Like I am cool. I just had my checkup with my surgeon and I will go every 6 months for a year and a half. And then I get to go yearly. So.
Wow.
Amazing.
Susan, that's such great news and such a great story. And I really appreciate you sharing that with us. There's just so much to unpack there, especially, all the way back from when you were being proactive, where you went in, which is, I think, important for everyone. But to also that message there at the end that, it can be kind of crappy all around you, but it's really how you choose to interpret it and what you choose to do with it. And you chose to take it positively. And there were a lot of positive things that happened. And I think for anyone who has cancer to say, hey, you know what, that actually wasn't the worst year of my life, that says a lot. It really does. And I by the way, I feel the same way. The 3 years I've had cancer have not been the 3 worst years of my life. They just haven't. There's been so many blessings with that. And I think I agree with you 100% that humans want to help other humans. And I've seen it firsthand with, not only my GoFundMe, but just my friends like yourself that have all reached out and continue to pray for me and send me positive messages, and it's really kept me going. And that's why we do this show, because we want to show people that, cancer does suck. No one's going to argue that point, but your life really doesn't have to, because there's a lot of really great things that can come from that type of diagnosis as well. And we want to call attention to that.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you for doing the podcast. I think it's a great idea for a podcast. I love podcasts. And so this one's on my list.
Thank you.
Because it is informative, but it's also inspirational. And that's the best best kind of podcasts.
And Susan,
Yeah,
for your
Jay is perfect
podcast,
at that.
80s TV Ladies, which I love, by the way, where can we find it? How can we find your podcast and find you?
You can find us at 80stvladies.com. That's 80stvladies. We're on all the social medias under that. And we're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all of the platforms. We're also on YouTube. You can listen on YouTube. We don't do video YouTubes yet. We do some, one-off videos, but with the new podcast studio, we might actually go to, but you can listen to the podcast on YouTube, and we have a lot of fans that just listen on YouTube. And and we're going to coming up one of our next episodes. We just interviewed, and we'll be dropping our interview with Adrienne Barbeau, which was really cool.
So I heard about her a lot, actually.
Yeah, so she was amazing. We've had on, both Cagney and Lacey, Tyne Daly and Sharon Glass, and we just started a dive into One Day at a Time.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for joining us, and continued success on your cancer journey too. Okay. I'm glad to hear that things worked out the way they did.
Thank you. And we'll have to have you guys on 80s TV Ladies.
We would love that.
I know you're a little too young, but
You can have, I'll just listen. I'll watch you guys. I'll just fangirl over you.
Yeah.
Because that's incredible. I can't wait to listen. That's awesome. And this episode here was so great. Thank you again so much.
Great. All right, cool.
I know everyone's going to love listening to this. And thanks for
Thank
being
you,
vulnerable
Susan.
on the air,
Yes,
Speaking of talking
I know.
about things.
And thanks for all your kind words. I love you to death. So thank you for that.
I love you too. And I'm so excited that this year has turned into something that has a magical quality for it, which is great.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thank you, Susan.
Sure.
Take care.
Bye.
Say hi to Rich for me.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, Jay. Yet again, another amazing guest, another amazing episode. That was just lovely.
Susan's such a amazing human being. And I just appreciate her honesty and telling that story to us, because she really did make it so relatable, I think, in so many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it was especially interesting just because, being a woman and having my yearly mammograms and checkups and just being able to hear a breast cancer story was definitely, I had my ears perked. I definitely want to make sure I'm always on top of that. And I'm so happy that it went, in the best direction possible for her. I'm so glad she didn't wait. And yeah, we're so lucky that people are willing to come on to the internet and tell absolute strangers about their personal health journeys. I'm just so grateful. So yet again, another amazing episode. Her podcast too, I cannot wait to check out. It'd be so fun to do. What do they call it? A pod swap. So if you go on her podcast, you've now done a pod swap.
A pod swap. Wow. I'm learning the lingo. I like this. I like the pod swap.
I think that's what it's, I try to stay hip with the times. Usually I fail, but I have heard people say that. So yeah, maybe
I like the pod swap.
Well, thank you guys again so much for coming along with us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, leave us comments on Instagram, on Spotify, YouTube. We just discovered that we have YouTube comments, so we're going to make sure we go in and actually respond to those. So yeah, leave us your feedback. As always, if you want to request to be a guest on our show, you can email cancersuckspodcast@gmail.com. All of our links and information, as always, are in the show notes. So check those out. Share this with someone you know. Wear purple if you ever feel like it. And yeah, Jay, any last minute updates from you? I know meds are going well. You feeling pretty good?
Meds are going well. We're recording this on a Friday, and Monday, I believe the day that this episode comes out, I'm actually getting my next CT scan. So that's a big one. That's going to tell us just exactly how well the meds are working. So next episode, I'll be back with an update for everyone on that. So stay tuned. But feeling very blessed with the course of action that we're following right now, and excited to report back to everyone.
Yay, absolutely. So that means when you guys are listening to this, today's Monday, I think. If you're listening on Monday, put all the good vibes out there right now for Jay, because he's currently getting his scan. So let's put all that good energy out there. I can't wait to hear the updates. Of course.
Awesome, Adrienne. Well, thank you for another great show, by the way.
Yes, thank you. I have a blast. It's my favorite thing every Friday to do this with you. So thank you so much. It's an honor.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your remainder of your week, or whatever it is during the week when you're listening to the podcast. We appreciate all of you so much, and we'll catch you next time. on the Cancer
Bye.
Sucks podcast. Bye,
And remember,
everybody.
cancer sucks, but your life doesn't have to.
Booyah.